Welcome to another one of my illustrious challenge run videos. Despite what the impression that this and my last challenge run's rule sets may give off, I'm not a masochist. But in this video, I'll be trying to figure out, can you beat Final Fantasy VIII with a bunch of status effects permanently enabled? Starting off, I'll go over the rules that I've set. Number 1, no modding rare cards. Rare cards mod into some of the most useful and powerful items in the game, so I'll be avoiding doing this. Number 2, no Chocobo World. Chocobo World is a notoriously easy way to get infinite amounts of extremely powerful and useful items very quickly. Number 3, no stat up items or abilities. I don't necessarily think that these break the game, and you more or less get a negligible amount of them throughout the game, but this being a different rule means that if I'm in a bind and I need to break the Chocobo World rule to get like a steel curtain item or something, I wouldn't also then gain access to maximum stats without also breaking this rule. Number 4, no status defense junctioning. This would be against the spirit of the challenge, so we'll leave it be for now. The last rule is that I have to keep these 5 status effects active throughout every battle in the game, with very few exceptions that we'll get into later. The status effects are Blind, Silence, Slow, Zombie, and Curse. I'll take a second to go over what all these status effects do in detail for a moment, but if you already fancy yourself an expert in this game's mechanics, or simply don't care about the specifics, skip to this timestamp. The first status is pretty simple. Slow decreases the speed that the target's ATB bar fills, but also reportedly lengthens the duration of positive statuses. Its base duration is 100 or about 6.6 seconds, but in this challenge it'll be permanent, save for an exception or two. Next up is Blind. Blind is a permanent status that persists outside of battle until cured with an item or at an inn. It decreases the target's hit percent by 75%. It's worth noting that characters that achieve a 255% in hit percent will not be affected by this status, as they bypass the accuracy check. Next, Silence disables the target's ability to use the Draw, GF, and Magic commands. This also includes on the world map, so we won't be using world map draw points in this run either. The last somewhat simple status is Curse. Curse disables the target's ability to use limit breaks. Normally this would only last for 320 frames, or about 21.3 seconds, but it'll be permanent on this run, so we will not be allowed to use any character's limit break either. The final status to go over is Zombie. Zombie is an interesting status, and it does a handful of things. I really dig the complexity it has. Zombie is a permanent status effect that persists even between battles that makes curative effects and items reverse their effects when reused on the target. For example, potions and cure spells deal damage instead of healing, and revival effects act as instant death effects instead. The only exception to this rule are status curative items, and when drain or absorb effects are used on a target under the effect of zombie status, the healing that the caster would gain is converted into damage instead, unless the caster is also under the zombie status or considered an undead enemy. However, the target of the absorb or drain will still take damage either way. Targets under the effect of the zombie status are also given immunity to being hit by death and doom, but if you are already under the effects of doom before becoming zombified, Zoom will still kill the target when the timer expires. The target's elemental defense for the holy affinity is hard set to the value 700, which means that they will take double damage from holy spells. This overrides any junctioning, so even if you have 100% absorption of holy on the junction screen, you'll still take 200% damage from the holy element. The last thing that the zombie status does is cut all incoming physical damage that the target receives by half, just like the protect spell. This effect can also stack with the protect, which would mean 1/4 physical damage taken. That just about covers the status effects and the other rules, so we can start up the run. I named Squall C as a bit of irony considering he's the only main character that begins naturally immune to the blind status since he has 255% accuracy. Quistis grabs us from the infirmary, and I grab the playing cards as I leave class. I set Quasiticatl to learn card and Shiva to learn strength junction, and then I put Quetz on Quistis and Shiva on C. Making a save, I begin my grind. I can likely beat Ifrit if I get lucky enough at this point, but I decided to get 40 AP to learn card. Then switch Quetz to learning card mod and Shiva to learn ice magic refine, as I'm going to fight Ifrit next. We have to reset quite a bit, but we eventually have a successful attempt, barely scraping by on 200 HP. I set Ifrit to learn HP Junction and run back to the Balam Hotel to get back to max health on everyone. I can't use any menu healing items except for tents and cottages, so the hotel is a nice cheap alternative. Next up is the Dalit exam. We arrive, and getting through the soldiers is fairly easy with 2 Gunblade users that have 255% accuracy. We get up to the Anacondor boss, and while it gives us some trouble, we're able to take it down with just attacks. Then we get to Biggs, Wedge, and Elverit. This boss is really something for this challenge. We're barely able to get through Biggs and Wedge with only attacks, but then we immediately just drop to Elverit. So what does this mean for the run? Can we even continue from this point? We've limited our options so much. Perhaps it was just too much. Well, the short answer to that is no. But the long answer is, I foresaw this issue from the very beginning. And before setting out to Dalit, I did an 18-hour grind, carding bombs in the fire cavern until I got 100 bomb cards, and then enough Krista cards to get 100 holy stones. Then maxed out my Krista cards for good measure. So now we have an avenue to success, and as you can see, these are a much better option. Let me briefly go over how stones work in FF8. Essentially, all of the stones act as if you're simply casting the respective spell, so the stones will scale with your magic stat and do more damage the higher it is. This will be our main offensive option for the majority of Disc 1 and 2 at least. This offensive option is so good that not only do we defeat Elverid, but we also defeat the XATM 092, and unfortunately for the run, we get the Force Armlet instead of the Power Wrist or Magic plus 40 item. It's only a minor issue, however. We learned a lot of our GF's abilities fighting XATM over and over, so Squall has HP Junction, which would normally be good for enabling limit breaks, but since we have Permanent Curse, it's only good for surviving longer. This may go pretty fast, but since we more or less can assume how all of the next while will go, we're gonna edit the first 2 discs or so into a boss rush and just run through all of the fights. Ronaldo goes pretty well. We have Strength Junction for Squall, so he attacks the Ronaldos and Ronaldo goes down in 2 Holy Stones. Then we just finish the Ronaldos off. Diablo swiped us a few times with his gravity and then physical 1-2 punch, but we just kept pushing through with Holy Stones. Being zombies, we couldn't afford to heal at all in the fight, as it would simply damage us anyway. Eventually we get through and Diablo joins us. He gets set to learn Encounter Half and then Encounter None ASAP. We get to Timber and lift the Angelo card from Watts. Then we name Renoa Speak and Angelo Here to get the See, Speak, and Hear No Evil trio. We pull off the train heist with aplomb, and I gotta point out how fucking dope this is conceptually. Stealing an entire train car without anyone even noticing. Body double or not, this feat is something to be proud of. We begin the fight with the fake president, and it goes about how you'd expect. Then we get to Laguna Dream 2, and all the S-Star soldiers fall to my stones and strength junction combo. I then grinded on Adamantoises until I got a few Adamantines, since this is the only way to do it without breaking the no modding rare cards rule. I get the Adamantines to upgrade Selfie's weapon Strange Vision so she can also join the 255% accuracy club for free, and everyone else's that needs one just for the strength increase. Then we go to the end of Disc 1. We defeat the brothers very easily, and then begin the operation with General Fury Caraway. The Iguion fight posed no issues at all. We get through on our first try just by attacking them. You might have realized by now, but being permanently silenced prevents us from drawing any of the drawable GFs. This limits our access to certain abilities and magics, as well as certain stat junctions. This may be a bigger issue later. Next, we one-shot Cypher with a non-trigger hit from the Lionheart. We got everyone's ultimate weapons on Disc 1 except Irvine, since he needs a Moonstone, which is only available on Disc 3. Edea doesn't get one-shot, but she poses no issues. Here even gets a hit in with Here Rush. We exterminated 0 monster open parentheses S close parenthesis in Windhill, and then we fought for their weapons in prison, and you can imagine how that went. Biggs and Wedge were very easy Holy Stone sweeps. Then we played cards in the prison until I had enough Rosetta Stones for all my GFs in the future. I think I got around 7 of them. The security at the top of the prison wasn't anything special. We mostly got through with physical attacks and occasional Holy Stone from Speak. We then did another grind like the one from the beginning. I thought I did this grind later on, but apparently it started here. We carved forbidden enemies in the Tomb of the Unknown King for red giant cards to get meteor stones, our ultimate attack. We then go to the missile base and use a meteor stone, destroying everything on our path. We then used a mix of stones and attacks on the ironclad and escape. We used the stones on the oil boils with our non-max accuracy characters and attacked with C to win. Next up is Norg, and I just use Mad Rush at the beginning to style on him, and it actually works out. We use a meteor stone on the Galbadians in FH, and then more of them in the Ironclad to win. Most enemies at this point in the game can't take much more than a single meteor stone, but some can. The Ironclad takes 2. Next, we kill Odin with Holy Stones. Then we do the CC Club quest to gain access to people that play high-level boss cards. We grab enough to have 53 Meteor Stones, 32 Flare Stones, 9 Ultima Stones, and top ourselves back off to 100 Holy Stones. We also grab the Gilgamesh card from Quistis. Then we fight Tonberries to get Tonberry King. Tonberry King didn't give us too much trouble, just some Meteor Stones and some physical attacks to take him out. Occupied Balam was a cinch. We didn't have too much trouble just taking them all out with stones and some physical attacks from C. I'm gonna skip over most of the Battle of the Garden, since you can imagine how it went, and skip right to Cypher 2. He also doesn't pose any threat, but he's more hardy than he used to be. I'll give him that at least. We also killed Cerberus with the normal strat. Eventually we learned auto haste with him, which I allowed since it was a natural ability, even though it cancels out the slow, even if I still have it set with cheat engine. Cypher and Ideo 1 were a first try victory as well, barely taking any return fire from them. We killed the Ruby Dragon in Laguna Dream 3 with Holy Stones. Nothing out of the ordinary happened in any of the random enemy encounters in between now and space, so I'll pick up with the Propagator boss rush. We got a couple Vantax tokens from OG, but most of them were through stone and physical plays with C and T. Next, we have Raijin and Fujin 2. They weren't a huge issue, but this is when the game started getting really hard, really fast. Mobile Type 8 was next, and I had 2 hero items to use throughout the whole rest of the game from drops off of bosses. I had a lot of trouble with Mobile Type 8. For one thing, he counterattacks every time you attack him, and meteor stones are my highest source of damage in a single turn, but that takes RNG to hit the correct target, because of the middle of the Mobile Type 8 is the only one that has the boss health bar. Not to mention, he also has an attack named Corona, which sets every party member to 1 health. This attack was a death sentence for my party that can't heal mid-battle. This was when I decided to use a hero instead. He was able to barely pull through with the invulnerability and kill Mobile Type 8, but this left me with only 1 hero for the rest of the game. Heroes also undo any statuses that you currently have afflicted, but it also doesn't seem to properly correct the slowed ATB bar, and I decided not to use limit breaks with hero because I thought that would be cheap anyway. Next is Cypher 3, which was a nice easy change of pace. We had almost no trouble with him. But after Cypher 3 was Sorceress Adele. We didn't have too much trouble with her this time, but keep her on your mind for the rest of the video. The sorceresses through the time gauntlet wasn't anything special either, but we did have sorta low health by the end. After this, we unlocked the Ragnarok teleporter on the castle chain and went into Ultimisia's castle. We killed Sphinxara with attacks and unlocked item. Then we killed Tri-Point with stones and unlocked command ability. Then we killed Krista with stones and unlocked save. Then we had everything we needed to fight Ulti. We tried valiantly, but Ultimecia proved impossible. So I loaded up a previous save from before the Lunatic Pandora, and I got Bahamut for Forbidden Magic Refine. The Bahamut fight was fairly easy, about the same as a castle boss. This being before the LP, we have both of our heroes again instead of just one. I felt like I needed to take both heroes into the Ultimecia fight, and give my main three guys Meteor and Ultimas for their junctions. So I got Bahamut, and I grinded Forbidden for red giant cards for Meteor stones like before. And I also went to Esthar and foolishly killed the Elnoil over and over again to get energy crystals for the Ultimas that I wanted for everyone. This leveled up my characters a bit, and made the Ultimecia fight harder by increasing her health, but I wouldn't realize this until later. I tried the Ultimecia fight for hours, using a hero on Selfie right before Shockwave Pulsar and right after the first one wore off, and eventually, I got this fight. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but this run was extremely easy up until Ultimecia. I was kind of disappointed by that, so I decided to up the ante. Call me crazy, but I decided to add 5 more statuses to the mix. Here's where the real fun begins. The extra statuses I added were Berserk, Poison, Regen, Doom, and Vitality 0. Berserk is simple. You randomly attack an enemy every turn, but you do 150% normal damage. Doom has a timer, and when the timer hits 0, it kills you. Vitality 0 sets both your Vitality and Spirit stats to 0 for damage calculations. Poison does between 5 and 7% of your maximum HP every time you do an action. And Regen heals you, but in this case, damages you because of zombie, every so often for 5% of your maximum HP. This might sound like overkill. After all, we only barely made it past Elverett with Holy Stones. How could we do it with all these extra hurdles? I'll tell you how. Cards. We start the run and name Squall Ouch, because that's what this run is. Then we grind AP on Buells one at a time to minimize the amount of damage taken from poison to the amount of AP gained. We hit the Balam Hotel every so often to heal up to full, and we run up from everything that isn't a Buell. Then after getting Card Mod and the 2 Magic Refine abilities, we go back to Balam to play cards for a ton of stuff. We get 100 Tornadoes and Strength Junction on Shiva, and we're able to take out Ifrit. Then we set off the Dalit and grind for AP with Cypher for a small bit, tenting once we get low at a save point. Elverett goes down handily with Tornado on attack and enough attempts. XATM goes down once, but we let Quistis take care of it this time. Then we grind for Ruby Dragon cards until we have 300 flares for our main party. With all this, Diablos goes down rather easily. We name Renoa Owie and her pooch Oof to follow Squall's lead. The fake president was pretty easy too. Essentially, we're a bit overpowered for this point, so I'll just do a quick montage of the easy fights here. I got like 4 Rosetta Stones in the prison to make it so I'll have at least 6 by endgame, and now we get to Norg. He's not hard per se, but he does have the side pods that can also be targeted by attacks, and so we lost a couple times to bad RNG. Ironclad 2 was just as easy as the first. We do the CC group quest again, then carry on to Disc 2's end. All the fights in the Battle of the Gardens were easy, so I'll just montage them as well. Abaddon was fairly easy. This run is shaping up to be about as hard as the last, but don't worry, it has its own quirks in time. We get through the main story sections and kill all the propagators pretty easily. Then come back and it's on to the LP assault. Like last run, Raijin and Fujin were easy, but Mobile Type 8 was a fucking roadblock. I had to roll 1/3 chances on physical attacks to hit the core while not taking too long and not dropping to Corona since I could no longer use a hero or anything to avoid the damage. Mobile Type 8 took many tries, but eventually I got this fight. Then Cypher 3 was easy sauce. But Adele. Fucking Adele. You might think this fight should be easier than Mobile Type 8, but it took me longer than it. You have to dodge hitting Renoa while Berserk. That's all I'll say. It took me a fuck ton of attempts, but eventually I did this. Then I immediately could not compete against the Sorceress Gauntlet. So is that where it ends? A triumphant victory over Adele, but a loss to the nameless sorceresses throughout time? I don't think so. At first I tried fighting Tonberry King and Bahamut, but I was unable to compete with them either. So now I think it's time we break the rules. You see, the rules I made up at the beginning were made with the first run in mind, but this one needs just about everything I can get. Now I've allowed modding rare cards, and this allowed me to get all the way to Ultimecia. In fact, I fought every boss in the castle other than Omega after this. Here's a montage. But even in time, Ultimecia would not fall. I broke the Chocobo World rule, but still disallowed stat up items, and the same deal. Then I allowed stat maxing, and I got this fight. We got all the way up to Megiddo Flame, but that is a run ender with Poison as a status. I could have done it without Poison or Regen, but with them, this is where the run ends. But I don't think of this as a defeat. I think that it's immensely impressive how far I got without breaking any rules with 10 statuses. We got to the Sorks battle with no rules broken, and Ultimecia with only 1 rule broken. With all that said, I want to thank you guys for making it through the video, and I'll see you next time.